What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another interview edition of Learn Crypto. Today I have Fran, the founder of Internxt. How you doing today, Fran?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
Perfect. So can you give us a background of yourself to start?
Yeah. I'm Fran. I'm 21. I started Internxt almost a year ago, actually. And before Internxt, I worked at a company called Hostinger, and I had a previous smaller startup. So I love entrepreneurship. I love new tech. And that's exactly what I'm doing at Internxt.
Perfect. How'd you really get started in cryptocurrencies?
Yeah. So my previous company was a web hosting company. And it was going fine, but it's a very boring industry. Like, it's not very exciting. So I thought of ways of growing my previous company. And I got into decentralization as a way of doing that. So decentralizing websites, decentralizing the internet. And that was around March 2017. And then after seeing how big decentralization was, actually, I decided to sell my previous company to another web hosting company. I left Hostinger, and with the little money I had saved up, I started Internxt. And that's how we started the crowd sale. So I put all my little funds there to be able to start this company.
That's awesome. So, I really don't know too much about Internxt. I know a lot of the community really hasn't mentioned too much about it. So can you kind of explain what Internxt is and really the vision for the project?
Right. Yeah. So Internxt is an innovation company. Internxt is a tech company that strives to disrupt different industries through the use of revolutionary technology. So that's pretty much what we're up to. So it's a very broad objective, and this allows us to do a lot of things in the coming years. What we're doing right now, we're disrupting the cloud industry through the use of decentralized technology. And this allows us to provide a more secure and more private solution than what's currently in the market. And that's xCloud.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys have two main projects right now, xCloud and xCore. Can you kind of explain what each of those are and how the INXT token really integrates with those platforms?
Right. Yeah. So xCloud basically is a decentralized cloud storage service. And xCore, it's basically the same, like the two sides of the same coin, if you want. So xCloud is like the client for users to use the cloud service, and xCore is the other side of the coin, which is where hosts can give away space and earn money for that. So it's the same coin. So it's pretty much the same service. Just with Airbnb, you have hosts and people who go to the houses. And how the token plays out, right now for xCloud, basically, for the beta, people will have to pay for the service in Internxt tokens. Mm-hmm. And basically, and these tokens basically get paid out to hosts. That's pretty much how it plays out. And then for the stable version, we don't want the token to be a bottleneck for us to achieve, market success and basically reaching out to the mass market. So how we're going to do it is we're going to allow fiat payments as well. And this fiat basically will be used to buy Internxt tokens from the market. And it's the same principle, but it's just in the background, so that the average user who doesn't know how to buy a token doesn't have to do it. We do it for him.
Yeah. So from my understanding with the xCloud, you kind of have competitors in the crypto market in probably Coin and storage. I'm going to ask you in a second how you really differentiate from those. But also what I think he was getting at there, guys, is you can actually pay for your monthly cloud storage in either the token or fiat. But I believe that you guys, if you receive fiat, you are immediately putting that on the market to buy tokens with that. Therefore, it kind of creates that cycle and really gives the token another value proposition, because you guys aren't taking revenue in fiat. You're taking it only in the INXT token, which I think is pretty important for that model. So how are you guys going to differentiate yourselves from Coin and storage? Obviously, these coins have larger market caps, larger communities, and have been around for a while. What makes you think that your product is better than those?
Okay, so in my opinion, like the current direct competitors we have, they have a different philosophy or a different approach towards what we're all doing, basically. So they're focusing on creating an infrastructure, but it's more kind of it's a service, meant to be used by developers, but not by the mass market. So I don't see Storj as a replacement to any of the currently mass market options we have. So I don't really see them as a competition. I don't really see them as a competitor, actually. As a matter of fact, xCloud, back then when we started, we forked it from Storj. So the original code we used was their code, and then we started improving that. So they're kind of focusing on creating an infrastructure, and that's it. Whereas what we're doing is trying to compete with Google, Amazon, Microsoft, etc. And how we are achieving that is because we're creating very simple, very beautiful interfaces, as you can see on our website. So we're focusing on user experience, because to cross the gaps between early adopters and mass market, that's exactly what you need. Mm-hmm. Marketing, user experience, provide something simple that people understand. And that's what we're focusing on. And we're also focusing on, of course, improving the infrastructure, because, creating a decentralized architecture doesn't mean that it's automatically immediately more secure than Google's architecture. So yeah, sure, it's decentralized, but Google has a shit ton of cash to make sure that your files are secure, right?
Yeah.
So fundamentally ours should be more secure, because we're using a new technology that's, in theory, fundamentally better. But we need to make sure that that's also the case. So what we're doing is not only taking this cool technology that Storge created, but we're also improving it very significantly, and involving hacking agencies, for example, Hacken and other third parties, and security auditing companies, to make sure that we can all improve our service to make sure that it's actually more secure than what's currently in the market.
Yeah, I was also you already kind of touched on it, but I was going to say, in the traditional side, I see your biggest competitor probably is Google Drive. Yeah. And from my understanding, after looking at the project for a little bit, is you guys are kind of taking the approach that, hey, you could be better for the future for a couple of reasons. Number one, you guys are probably going to be cheaper per month, currently are, based on how much you're charging in fiat. And some people will be like, well, as the token gains value, does that increase the monthly cost for xCloud? And everything I'm finding is that's not really the case, since you guys are basing it off the fiat, and then that's going to be the pair for the token. So no matter how high the value of the token goes, it's still going to cost the same amount in fiat. So it's just that conversion ratio. Also, you guys are utilizing decentralization. So obviously, you guys, and a lot of people think that that can be more secure, since there isn't a centralized authority like Google, and your files will be stored almost in fragments. That way, if somebody does happen to get access, break encryption, they're only going to see a small portion of your file and not everything. Am I correct in those understandings?
Yeah, that's right. In terms of pricing, we're as competitive, more or less, as currently mass market services, because we didn't see pricing as a unique selling point for our service. So when you look at the storage, at the cloud storage market, you don't really see pricing or reliability as things that could be improved, really, because when you use Google Drive, it's actually pretty cheap. So we didn't really focus too much on pricing. Or for instance, Airbnb did have a unique selling point in terms of pricing. They created a less quality, cheaper service than hotels, because that was actually something that the market needed. But with us, we use decentralization in another way. So what we basically accomplish with that is, hopefully to create, a more premium service to what's currently out there.
That's cool. So I know your roadmap is pretty full for Q3 and Q4. Have you guys already released the alpha? I think that was supposed to come out in Q2. And then I think you have the beta coming up and commercial. Can you kind of go into a little details of what those roadmap goals really mean?
Yeah. So the alpha, we released it a few months ago. That was fine. We got, the developers of our community try it out, give us some feedback, and that went fine. So that was accomplished. And then, right now we're focusing on the beta, and the beta is already going to be a version that people can already use and pay for. We will offer a 7-day free trial, and people can already sign up for the waiting list for the beta. So we expect very early adopters as well to be using the beta, because only Internxt token payments are accepted.
Where can they sign up for that beta at? I know I saw somewhere that you guys had like 3,000 or 5,000 people on the waiting list. Is that kind of in line with what you were expecting? And how can more people get over there and sign up for it?
Right. So as for the beta, as for xCloud beta and as of xCore beta as well, you can actually sign up for both. You can do that from our website, actually. So right from our website, you can sign up for the beta waiting list. And we expect to release the beta Q3. And why we need a waiting list basically is because we will be rolling out xCore a bit earlier than xCloud, so that we can see what kind of supply we're looking at. So what kind of network do we have? And then depending on that size, we will be rolling out xCloud little by little. So the guys who are first on the waiting list will get to try it out and potentially buy it before the ones afterwards. And in terms of predictions, we are actually way, way ahead of our predictions. So that's great, because we based our predictions on very conservative numbers, and we are actually way above those numbers. We wanted to hit 10,000 xCloud waiting list members by the time we release the beta. But I think we're going to go way above that. We'll see.
Cool. And now I know that there's only 629,000 INXT tokens in circulation, and really that's the total supply forever, from my understanding. How did that number come about, and does that small supply of tokens scale as you guys continue to grow?
Right. So in terms of why do we have such a small supply? I mean, that's a result of a very small crowd sale. So as I said, I funded the crowd sale with my funds, and as a 19-year-old, I didn't have that much to start a company. So we did a very small crowd sale. We raised very little money actually, and that's the reason for our small supply, pretty much.
Because you guys essentially said you were doing like a token burn for whatever didn't sell. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Kind of what happened.
Yeah. So we had 1.1 million tokens generated, and then the difference from that to 600,000, which is the total uncirculating supply, was burned. And that's why we have such a small supply, basically. And in terms of funding, actually, I don't think this is an issue. Like, we have everything very well planned out. And up until now, up until the ICO, craze, startups started with nothing, and they really needed to prove a point and have a market and so on before they started, getting some funding. So we're lucky that we're actually starting with something. So that's something I think positive for us, and not something negative. And in terms of scalability of the token, as you probably know, the Internxt token is divisible by 8 decimal places. So if there aren't enough tokens circulating, you can always buy 0.001 tokens or something for whatever price. So that's not an issue.
Perfect. And do a lot of proof of work coins have like a treasury system that's kind of keep their project moving? Do you guys have a treasury system or taking commissions off of your monthly revenue, or how's that going to work? I know that you guys have hosts on your network that have to earn a reward, and that's kind of the incentivation for them to even get on it. Do you have a percentage breakdown on that?
You mean how much are we paying hosts? Or?
Yeah, like if you guys are receiving 100% of revenue, how much do you guys keep? How much do the hosts get, etc.?
Yeah, so for our revenue model, actually for our profit model, we use a similar model to Airbnb or Uber. So we earn, profit from the commissions, right? So the issue with this, is that, you need a big network to make significant profit. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to be making any profits for the next months, because we don't see a point in taking whatever percent of the revenue, because that will be hindering growth, and it won't really be benefiting us in any way, because we've got enough funds to keep growing. So 100% of basically the revenue will go to hosts, and then say, I don't know, 10 months from now or 8 months from now or whatever, we decide to start making a profit. What we have in mind right now is 90% revenue for the hosts, and only 10% profit for us, which is also a very good number for hosts. But again, these are all predictions, and just on our white paper also we have certain assumptions which we use to make certain predictions. So depending on how everything goes and how much we need money, we're planning also on doing a Series A next year. So if we do a Series A and we get enough funding, maybe we won't be getting any profit. We won't be needing to make any profit for the next 2 or 3 years. So we won't be keeping any commission, and we can just keep focusing on growth. So it really depends on many variables.
Cool. So I guess since you guys are looking at doing a Series A, then you guys have been pretty up to date with regulatory compliance, and you guys don't see really that being an issue moving forward at all then.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of compliance, we don't think there's much of an issue there. In terms of a Series A, it's going to be an equity offering, so it doesn't have much to do with our token. Yes, and that's one of the reasons also why we're going to move to California in the next, actually this summer, because we want to look for funding for our Series A, which will potentially happen during 2019. And in terms of compliance, there's no framework yet to, what's right and what's wrong. There's more or less, what we can reasonably think that's right or wrong, and if you're a bit clever, you can pretty much tell what's a scam coin, or what, what's a 15-year-old guy trying to make $20 million with a shit idea.
Yeah.
That's going to go to hell in a month, and what's not.
Yeah, that's what I thought was interesting once I started looking into your project, is you guys aren't trying to get all this money grab, et cetera. Like you said, you're not even taking any profits until your network gets large enough that it even seems feasible. Because if you guys don't get hosts to get onto your network, then it doesn't matter how many people want to use xCloud, it's not going to be functioning properly. So I think that's pretty interesting. We kind of touched base on a lot of things here. What makes 2018 a success for Internxt, and what are you most excited for? Do you guys have some new exchanges coming up, new products, new partners? I mean, anything that, I mean, you don't have to name names, but anything you can kind of hint at, or what's good for you guys?
Yeah. So as for numbers, because that's what we're focusing on actually, what 2018 looks for us in terms of success is being able to hit the 10,000 members in our xCloud waiting list, and then getting a good enough conversion rate from that, releasing the stable version, and hitting a substantial a good enough amount of users on our xCloud and xCore programs. And then during 2019, we'll be just focusing on growth and improving these platforms, getting other companies audit them, and reaching out to corporations on the mass market. That's what 2019 will look like. We also have another product coming out potentially in 2019, which is called the Core Pro, which basically will be a server that you can potentially, just install at home. You can connect it to the light. You install it via Wi-Fi on your laptop, and it basically will work for your xCore program. So instead of being hosting files on your laptop, which you turn off, and it's not optimized for this kind of process, and it doesn't have that much storage, you're going to have a server that's actually optimized for this process, and it's going to earn a higher, potentially higher income than your laptop. So that's what's coming up. In terms of exchanges, we're pretty much we didn't raise that much, and exchanges are charging incredible amount of money, which I think it's just nonsense. Yeah. So we have a very solid token economics, and the more demand there is for xCloud, the more tokens are going to be bought, and they can be bought. So getting on an exchange is to hype the top, to pump the price for 10 minutes and then dumping it. I mean, I don't really see a point in that. And then, as I said, in terms of compliance, we want to make sure that we know what the rules of the game are before we spend any substantial amount of money in getting in any exchange. We're in talks with many different exchanges. For instance, KuCoin, we're very close talks with them because we think they're a very serious exchange. They do care about compliance, and I think we can work with them hand in hand, in terms of regulation, etc. But yeah, I mean, right now, if you want to buy tokens, you can actually buy them from our website, so you don't even need to sign up on an exchange.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, that you can actually. I know you guys are only on a few smaller exchanges, so that might be a little less feasible for those who only use the main ones: Bittrex, KuCoin, Binance. But you guys can buy them on the website if interested. And I think it just has to be like an ERC20 compliant wallet. So like my Ether wallet would work.
Yeah, totally.
And they just put in their my Ether Ethereum address, and then that links it to the wallet for them.
Yeah. So basically, we, as I said, we had an issue, which was we were in very small exchanges, but we didn't want to spend $500,000 on getting on an exchange that, in 2 months may disappear, or whatever, or it may have compliance issues and they may delete all tokens or whatever. So how we overcame that issue was by, installing this widget on our website that basically does the buying process of the token in the background. So basically you send Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ether, and potentially soon also dollars, to some address, in this case, for Bitcoin address, and some algorithm automatically detects when the Bitcoin are received and sends you the equivalent amount of tokens, buying them at the best price from the exchange. So you basically don't need to do anything. You just literally send your Bitcoin from Coinbase or your Bitcoin address, and you just receive your Internxt tokens in your Internxt token address or Ether address.
Interesting. Do you guys have your own personal Internxt desktop wallet yet? Or are you just utilizing ERC20 compatible wallets and exchange wallets right now?
Yeah. We don't have our own wallet, so you can just use any wallets that can be used for ERC20 tokens. For instance, Trezor, I think Ledger also, my Ether wallet.
Perfect. That's awesome. Really, that's about all I got. Is there anything else you want to kind of say about your project? I think that what's interesting here is you guys are creating something that obviously has a real world use case. You're already seeing other cryptos with similar outlooks having a lot of success as far as market cap is concerned right now. We'll see if you guys can push forward that use case. And also, I think the low token supply really for speculators, investors, and people who are wanting to utilize this token is pretty good, good value proposition for that token as well. Since you guys are always taking your revenues and immediately buying more tokens at market price, I think that was a good decision on your guys' part as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we want to welcome everybody who's excited about, being part of a cool project that really wants to do things better. Because as I said, we're not going to stop with xCloud. xCloud is just the beginning of a hopefully very long process in terms of, creating some, very unique and cool ideas.
And for all the products that you guys create, is the INXT token going to be the only token that is utilized on all those platforms?
I mean, we're not going to create more tokens in terms of creating a second token for another project. What I can say is that the Internxt token will be used for the xCloud product. I have no idea what the next product will be. So, I mean, it really depends if we're going to create a Steam engine for some training. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to add a token there. But, as long as it makes sense to add the token, and again, I'm talking about forecasts of, 2-3 years, but we have no idea, what product we're going to release or anything. But if it makes sense to use the token, we will use it. And, the token is not called the xCloud token. It's called the Internxt token. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's about it, guys. Make sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and stay tuned for your daily updates on cryptocurrencies right here at Learn Crypto.
Thank you, guys.